It's 11 a.m. in a small town in Utah. Curtis Green, 47 years old, is home alone, sitting in front of the television, eating powdered mini donuts and drinking Coca-Cola. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. Until the doorbell rings, his two chihuahuas suddenly start barking frantically. Green slowly gets up, leaning on his wife's pink cane. They rarely get visitors in that quiet neighborhood of Spanish Fork. When he looks through the window, he notices something strange. The supposed mailman is already walking away too quickly. He's only wearing a U.S. Postal Service jacket, jeans, sneakers, no official van, just an unmarked white van parked across the street. On the porch, there's a package. No return address. Heavy, strangely heavy. For a few seconds, Curtis Green simply stares at the box. Something feels wrong, very wrong. Then he makes the decision that probably saved his life, or destroyed it forever. He picks up the package, slowly walks to the trash can, and throws it away. End of story. Or at least it should have been. Because a few minutes later, curiosity wins. Green walks back to the trash, picks up the box again, takes it inside, closes the door, grabs a pair of scissors, and makes a single cut. A white cloud explodes into the air, powder covering his face, his couch, his clothes. And at that exact moment, the front door is violently ripped off its hinges. Armed men storm into the living room, SWAT, screaming, red laser sights cutting through the walls. Curtis Green drops to his knees without even trying to run. Inside the package, more than a kilogram of pure cocaine, stamped with a red dragon. Agents search the house. They find $23,000 in cash, a computer, a Bitcoin mining machine, phones, hard drives. Curtis Green has just been arrested, but he was never the real target. The man authorities truly wanted was someone who might not have even existed. A digital ghost, a name, Dread Pirate Roberts, the creator of Silk Road, the illegal dark web marketplace where people could buy drugs, weapons, fake documents, and clandestine services using Bitcoin. No real names, no faces, no traces. Or at least that's what everyone believed. Because at that moment, the United States government was about to launch one of the darkest operations in internet history. And the most disturbing part? The criminals would not be the only monsters in the story. Because the men assigned to hunt down the digital empire would eventually become just as corrupt as it was. Maybe even worse. Carl Force was a DEA veteran. More than 15 years infiltrating narcotics operations. Lies were a natural part of his life. Fake identities, invented profiles, secret conversations, psychological manipulation. It was all part of the job. His partner, Sean Bridges, specialized in digital crimes. Bitcoin, blockchain, computer tracing, Tor. The technology used to hide users inside the dark web. Together, the two formed a dangerous combination. One understood the drug underworld, the other understood the internet underworld. And now they were sitting in front of Curtis Green's computer. What they found there changed everything. Green wasn't just a Silk Road user. He was a high-level moderator. He had administrative access. He could reset passwords, freeze accounts, move bitcoins. Millions of dollars flowed through that invisible system. And the strangest part, Curtis seemed terrified, not of prison, not of SWAT, but of one single person. Dread Pirate Roberts, the man behind Silk Road. Nobody knew who he was. Some believed he was a former intelligence operative. Others claimed it was an entire group operating together. There were even theories saying DPR wasn't a person at all, but a position. An identity secretly passed from operator to operator, like an invisible king of the dark web. And perhaps the most terrifying thing was the power he seemed to possess. Users disappeared after threatening him. Moderators vanished without explanation. Vendors talked about contract killings in private forums. Everything wrapped in paranoia. Nobody knew what was real, because on the dark web, fear spreads faster than truth. So the agents came up with an idea. Turn Curtis Green into an informant. If he cooperated, maybe he could avoid decades in prison, maybe survive. But while authorities were trying to infiltrate the digital empire, something unexpected happens. 20,000 bitcoins disappear. At the time, around $350,000. Today, billions. Dread Pirate Roberts panics. Someone stole money from Silk Road. And all the evidence points to Curtis Green. The problem? Green swears he's innocent. And for the first time, The real criminals may have been the federal agents themselves, because Sean Bridges had discovered something dangerous. Bitcoin seemed impossible to trace back then. No banks, no names, no documents, invisible money. Or at least it seemed that way. So Bridges does something unthinkable. Using privileged access, he steals the Bitcoins, quietly moves everything into private wallets, and turns Curtis Green into the perfect scapegoat. But that creates another problem. Dread Pirate Roberts wants revenge. He sends messages demanding punishment, beatings, torture, execution. And Carl Force realizes something terrifying. He can use this to his advantage. So a secret operation is born inside the secret operation itself. Force creates a fake identity. A trafficker named Knob, supposedly connected to violent cartels. DPR believes him, trusts him, talks to him for months, shares secrets, fears, escape plans, and without realizing it, the most wanted man on the internet slowly begins trusting a federal agent, or at least who he thought was one. But this is where the story becomes even more absurd. Because Carl Force also starts stealing. Yes, the agent responsible for taking down Silk Road begins extorting Silk Road's own creator. He creates multiple fake identities, sells fabricated information, threatens DPR anonymously, pretends to be spies, hackers, informants, all to squeeze more bitcoins out of him. Meanwhile, Curtis Green is inside a hotel room, being tortured. Agents simulate drowning, photograph everything. They need to convince DPR the punishment actually happened. But during the operation, Dread Pirate Roberts changes his mind. He sends a new message. Don't torture him. Kill him. And at that moment, the investigation crosses every moral line imaginable. Because now federal agents have to fake a murder to stay undercover. Curtis Green is forced to fake his own death. Covered in fake vomit, motionless on the floor, while photos are sent over the internet to a man hidden behind a screen. And the scariest part, DPR completely believes it. He transfers thousands of bitcoins as payment for the supposed murder. In his mind, a man had just died, all because of digital money. But there's something even more disturbing about this story. For years, millions believed Bitcoin was impossible to trace. Criminals, hackers, traffickers, corrupt agents. Everyone trusted it. But the blockchain recorded everything. Every transaction, every movement, every wallet, like an eternal fingerprint hidden in public. And that's exactly what destroyed everyone. Investigators began following the money, wallet by wallet, transfer by transfer, and slowly. The trail led directly to the federal agents themselves. Sean Bridges, Carl Force, the men tasked with fighting crime, had become millionaire criminals, and they couldn't hide it. When the FBI finally locates Dread Pirate Roberts, the ending happens almost by accident. Ross Ulbricht is sitting inside a public library in San Francisco, laptop open, logged in as Silk Road administrator. Agents distract Ross while another grabs the still unlocked computer. Within seconds, the entire empire collapses. Servers are seized, bitcoins confiscated. Nearly 1 million users disappear from the platform. Silk Road finally falls. But the story doesn't end there. Because shortly afterward, the agents themselves begin getting investigated. Suspicious transactions appear. Offshore companies, hidden accounts, money laundering, lies, extortion. And then comes the most ironic revelation of the entire operation. The currency everyone believed was invisible became exactly what condemned all of them. Carl Force is arrested. Sean Bridges, too. Both receive federal prison sentences. The man who hunted digital criminals had now become one himself. And perhaps the most disturbing part of all this is realizing that the line between cop and criminal began disappearing completely inside the dark web. Because in that world, everyone wears masks. Criminals pretend to be businessmen. Agents pretend to be traffickers. Hackers pretend to be ghosts. And sometimes, nobody can tell who is really in control anymore. But there's one detail few people talk about. Even after Ross Ulbricht's arrest, new versions of Silk Road appeared almost immediately. Like a digital hydra. Cut off one head, and another appears. Underground markets began multiplying. More sophisticated, more anonymous, more dangerous. And many experts believe the Silk Road case didn't destroy the dark web. It only taught criminals how to become better. Today, There are hacker groups capable of holding entire hospitals hostage with ransomware, cartels using cryptocurrencies to silently move millions, secret marketplaces accessible only through invitation, and forums where identities can be bought like ordinary products, all hidden behind encrypted networks, all operating right now, while you watch this video. And perhaps the most terrifying part is that many of these modern systems were born directly from mistakes made during the Silk Road era. Criminals studied the case, learned from it, evolved. The digital world became a permanent espionage game. Governments spy on hackers. Hackers spy on governments. Agents infiltrate illegal forums, while illegal forums attempt to infiltrate governments. An invisible war, silent, global. And perhaps that's the real reason this story still terrifies so many people today. Because it proved something extremely dangerous. When money, anonymity, and power meet on the internet, even the people assigned to protect the system can become corrupted by it. And honestly, that may be more terrifying than any dark web hacker. Because in the end, the greatest danger was never just Silk Road, but the fact that nobody seemed immune to what it represented. Not criminals, not federal agents, not entire governments, and maybe not even the modern world itself.